welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Rachel Ellen. She calls herself a fast-thinking marketer, and we learn from her about the common myths of marketing and also the genuine recipe for sales that work in any sector. Also, how you can fix your positioning, move beyond imaginary customer profiles, and implement strategies that actually drive revenue. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Rachel. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit. A lot of businesses across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about marketing that actually sells. So we'll talk about all this. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, especially working in 21 plus countries, 16 years, so many clients, so a lot of things, and also about the Hong Kong story so that people know who they are listening to.
Yeah. Well, I never thought I was going to be involved in marketing. I never thought I was going to run my own business, but I went to school for journalism and then graduated into the 2008 recession. And of course, no one was hiring. So in my 22-year-old brain, I was like, well, the furthest place away from Tennessee is Hong Kong. So I bought a plane ticket and I moved to Hong Kong, but I didn't think to get a work visa before because, 22. And so I stranded myself there with about $200 in my bank account and had to make rent. So I'm Googling like how to make money online, which is, of course, ridiculous both then and now. But I found this freelance job from a content mill and I took it and they actually paid me. And I built a business off it ever since.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You built. Why did people pay? Is it because of the nice words that you write, or is it because the impact that those words have?
I think that's both. I think, they enjoy the way they sound, but also they're just very effective. And that's what I've always focused on in my marketing, because otherwise, I'm just writing a beautiful journal entry or a piece of art. Your words really should focus as a business asset for you.
Absolutely. So how is it that, marketing, a lot of marketing, your words, how do they fit into marketing? Words, generally people write books, articles, they sell differently. But in marketing, those are bigger, different sort of experts, they use their own words. So I want to understand, how do your words find place in the marketing arena?
Well, I've written my own books about marketing, of course, and then I do my own marketing for myself. But a lot of the way that my words show up is honestly in my clients' voices, because if I'm writing something, I don't want it to sound like me. I want it to sound like the very best version of you. So that's where most of my words are. And then, of course, I do a lot of thought leadership and essay work and general shouting on the internet about things that I care about.
Absolutely. So in terms of marketing, a lot of people are experts in marketing, but a lot of businesses are also, lacking all the problems in terms of sales and marketing, in spite of having so many experts. Why is it that deficiency is there, and the marketing that is there is not enough for a lot many businesses? How would you like to explain that to a simple person, either a small business, startup, or an individual, freelancer, anyone who has heard marketing, does whatever he or she can, but doesn't understand it like an expert like an expert like you. So how would you want them to understand about marketing?
Well, the most important thing to understand about marketing is that it's the process of making it easy for someone to say yes to you, whether that's to buying your thing or believing something or taking action or donating. And the reason I think that there's such a gap between the number of marketing firms out there and the actual quality of marketing we see is, one, some of them are just not very good at it, because like any industry, there's a curve of competence. But what I've often seen my clients struggle with is that they will hire a marketing firm that has a great reputation, but it ends up not being a good fit for them. And the marketer just ends up pushing some sort of cookie cutter process on them that's not a fit for them or their business or their goals. And so, of course, that doesn't work. And then this is the part that gets me a bit upset, that the marketer tends to blame the client. And what I always tell them, I'm like, no, absolutely not. That's not your fault. You were just put in a situation that's not a fit for you.
Absolutely. So you say, 99% of marketing advice actually sets you up to fail.
Yeah.
Why?
So this actually gets into the recipe for sales as well. And for sales to happen, you have to put the right thing in front of the right person at the right time in the right way. And all of those four factors have to be in place together. But the thing is, you can only control like two of those at best. The problem is, most marketing advice is predicated on the idea that you have control over all four factors when you just don't. You don't control the flow of time. We can't do that. And so when you are given a marketing strategy that relies on you to control things that you absolutely cannot control, of course, it's not going to work for you. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky, but probably you won't. And then again, I feel like so many people put it back on the business owner and say, well, you didn't want it badly enough, or you didn't try hard enough. And that's absolutely not true. It's just that you're not all powerful.
Absolutely. You also talk about client avatar.
Mm-hmm.
Many people call it buyer persona and by different names. Industry has been almost based on that. Means everybody wants to think about the best version of their client and then want to reach that particular client. Hero's journey, client journey, so many other things.
Yeah.
What is the problem with that, Rachel?
Well, I actually wrote a small ebook a couple years back called Kill Your Client Avatar. And that was because I got so frustrated seeing people create what they thought was a client avatar, but was really basically an imaginary friend. And then, of course, that's not very effective, right? If you're working off of some sort of person that you've made up as opposed to your actual client, that's not going to give you the results you want. Actual client avatars, if you look back in marketing history, if we go back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, they were the size of phone books. People know everything about the psychological profile of their clients. And that's a real avatar. Now, you don't actually have to get that detailed for what you're doing. That's for businesses like, for instance, detergent or Coca-Cola or whatever, the really big multinationals. But what you do need to do is actually speak to actual clients or actual potential clients and then get a really clear understanding of their psychology as opposed to their demographics. So like, it doesn't matter to me what age they are. I don't care what their gender is. I don't care if they have pets or not. I don't care what cereal they eat in the morning. What I really care about is what they care about, what they wake up in the middle of the night worrying about. That's what you need. And that's what makes a real client avatar.
Absolutely. So, in terms of what is the thing that is lacking, rather than killing the avatar, why not just make sure that we make this the right kind of changes? Is it about data only, or is it much more beyond that, Rachel?
I think it's a combination of data and connoisseurship. So people can tend to fall in one range or the other. Either they just research and put like a ton of data points together, but they don't think about what that actually means for their clients, or they just sort of get like a vibe of their clients and they don't look at the actual data. So you have to have both for an effective client avatar.
Absolutely. So, how do I solve that problem? Because will words, your magical words, solve that problem? Or is it, first we need to put the right kind of data to understand the client, and then you bring the right kind of words? How do you do it? Because first it's like they will ask you to come in on board, and then you will bring the first, the right kind of avatar, and that is where the data.
Yeah.
Are they really ready for the, such long haul or such intensive type of work?
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. I do a lot of this work for my clients. And while it does sound very intensive, you can actually get a pretty solid avatar together if you speak to 10 people. And that's just not that many. And so a lot of times I'll have clients with overlapping avatars. I can bring in some of that previous data and sort of fast track things. But if you're starting from scratch and you have no idea what to do, if you talk to 10 people, you will get a very solid basic avatar together.
Absolutely. So, which are the best sectors for your type of advice or your words? Or is it that it can work in almost any sector.
I mean, words are universal, right? They're the way we communicate as humans. I've often said that words are the technology by which ideas and influence spread. As far as me, I've worked in industries from accounting to astrology and everything in between. In the last couple of years, I've tended to specialize a little bit more in sort of high context industries. So, law, finance, architecture, that kind of thing. But I've written for everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in terms of, you also talk about positioning.
Mhm.
What is positioning in today's time? How do you explain positioning to a, say, freelancer? How do you explain positioning to a small business? How do you explain positioning to a startup? Help us understand about the importance of which you call is very much overlooked. Why is
Yeah.
it overlooked? Tell us from these different points of view.
Yeah, well, positioning is the thing that makes sales actually work, but almost no one ever talks about it, especially in sales training. If you don't have your positioning right, there's a hollowness at the center of your sales, and you are constantly having to reinvent the wheel with your marketing. So, positioning is basically what you're selling and why someone wants it. And that sounds really simple, but when you ask people to describe it, a lot of times they're like, oh, because it's so obvious to you, right? You can feel it, you know all the details of it, you know why people care. But if you have to say that in like 2 sentences, it can be really difficult. And so, ideally, what you'll do is you'll get your positioning statement down to 1 to 2 sentences. Mine, for instance, is I make words make money. And as soon as someone hears that, they're like, oh, okay, I know who she is, I know what she does, and I know why I want it. And if you can get a statement that answers those 3 questions, that's the foundation of all of your marketing. Your sales get so much easier. And you don't have this sort of boundary pushing weirdoism that comes when you don't have a clear positioning statement.
Absolutely. So is this positioning the same as brand positioning, price positioning, or any other positioning? Help us understand from all these different parts of this marketing mix, Rachel.
Yeah, so all of those things play into your positioning because they all tell people something about what the product is. I love that you brought up price positioning because so many people bring their own money mindset issues into their pricing, and then they end up devaluing their product or their service because they can't imagine someone would pay X amount of money for it. So then people don't see it as really valuable. So as you said, pricing, your brand positioning, the basics like your color palette and logo, the way that you talk about something, who you talk about it to, and where you spend your time. So whether that's social media or email or podcast or something else, it's everything that tells somebody about who you are, what you do, and why they want it.
Absolutely. What about, see, a lot of businesses nowadays are online, are built on individuals.
Hmm.
How do they, build that positioning on something like personal branding?
Yeah.
Say if you and a lot of individuals, they do talk about, especially in terms of services or even in product. I don't know if it works that way, but high ticket clients.
Yeah.
How do you bring about that positioning about high ticket clients, and also a product which can also work for a lot of small ticket clients also, so that your bread and butter keeps running? You can't say I am available cheap,
Yeah.
but also very high. You can't say you can't afford me. How does
Yeah.
that individual work around things around personal branding? Then his brand will be killed. He will be almost killed from the space, and nobody will ever come to them.
Yeah. So personal branding is tough because it requires you to decide whether you are okay being the face of your business forever. And if you like that, great. It can be very powerful. Or you may need to create a different brand identity for your business, and you just happen to be the person who runs it. If you are the person who's the face of it, then you have to think about how much of my private life do I actually want to share? How much do I want the internet to know about me? Because none of us want all of our lives to be out there, and people don't need to know everything about me to buy something. As far as how you swing that with high touch offers and low touch offers, that kind of goes back to what you want in your business. So you can do it by diversifying your revenue streams and having, for instance, low cost offers that are things that are evergreen. You know, perhaps you've done a series of courses that you can sell. Perhaps you have some sort of lower cost offer that doesn't require a lot of your time. And then the higher touch things, what's working right now is things that are deliberately non-scalable and things that are human touch. So people don't want to feel like they've been put through a process. They want to feel like they've come to you specifically and you see them as an individual.
Absolutely, Rachel. Now let's come to the power of words that you create. A lot of people in these times of artificial intelligence, a lot of people will think the power of words or the right kind of words are just a prompt away. Is that correct? Or is that not? I almost know the answer, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah. You know, I'm of two minds of it, right? I'm not opposed to AI. It can be extremely effective for what it does. But I think all of us have experienced this sort of like tiredness and jadedness of seeing the same kind of stuff over and over and over again. And that's not especially powerful. We all tune that out. There is something that a human creativity brings to writing that makes us sit up and lean in and want to know more. And that's because writing or any kind of art is an inherently co-creative act. And so if there's not a person on this side doing the creating, it doesn't really matter what the audience is doing on this side because there's no connection there. But as far as working with it to create first drafts, as far as using it essentially as your marketing intern, it's fantastic. It can be a wonderful thought partner. It can be great for helping get you out of ruts. But it's just very important to know what it can do and what it can't do and not dilute your brand equity by just turning everything over to the robot.
Absolutely. So in a nutshell, what would you want businesses, individuals, anyone who has to do with the power of words, what do you want to know about marketing and revenue generation?
So something I've been saying for a really long time on the internet is that human is the only move left. And we see marketing trends come and go, and people get very attached to one way of doing something and then say the algorithms change or something happens with platforms and that doesn't work anymore. That's a terrible position to put yourself in. But the one thing that always works and the one thing that's pulled businesses through for the past 16, 17 years I've been doing this is the power of the humanity they can bring to their relationships. So the more that you can show up as yourself, the weirder you can make it, the more you can be, the higher the chances are of your business succeeding in the long term.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much to learn about all this from you, Rachel. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more from you, be your client. A lot of businesses certainly need this. What is the best way for them to do so?
You can find me at boltfromthebluecopywriting.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn or just email me at hello@boltfromthebluecopywriting.com.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.